drawing LavenderTowne. If you don't know, LavenderTowne is an artist, a very unique artist with a super adorable little art style. But she is a YouTuber who does lots of art videos, and she talks about random art subjects like, I don't know, art block, or she talks about like different tips for how to be better at art and how to like do all this different stuff. And I actually really love her videos. A lot of you guys were requesting her, and I was like, oh wait, I actually know her, and I've watched her videos plenty of times. But I've never like really kept up that much with it. Like I go there every once in a while. So I really wanted to jump on this one and actually draw her, because I actually knew who this was, and I was really hyped about that. Because normally when I draw YouTubers, I don't really know much about them. So it was fun to do one that I actually know who it is. Well, the reason this one is interesting to me is this is the first, I think, art YouTuber I've drawn in the whole Drawing YouTuber series. I haven't done that many YouTubers yet, but this is the first artist, and that's awesome. I remember the other artist I used to watch a lot was Mark Crilly. I love his stuff. I remember that was my biggest inspiration when I got into anime art. I would constantly watch his stuff, and I was always there and always like super hyped to do that. Well, when I found her later on, I was the same thing. Like I saw her art style, and her art style was so cute. Look at her art style. It reminds me of like a Tim Burton-y sort of like movie. I don't know how to explain that, if that makes sense. It makes sense to me, but it probably doesn't make sense to anyone else. So I really love her art style. It is so cute, and it's like a chibi-ish, but it's so colorful and unique and different. And I always liked that, of like how certain people have such intense, unique art styles that no one else has. And I think that is so cool. But I know my art style isn't nearly as unique. My art style is more like based on anime and stuff like that, and it's not so unique. But there's nothing wrong with not having a super unique art style. A lot of people have art styles that mimic other people's art styles or look like different things, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of art styles come from things like that. But I just really love her art style, and I think it's so cute, and that's why I really wanted to do this. But for drawing her, I wanted to go a weird route with it. I actually did like a portrait sort of picture, only it's kind of sketchy, but I did lots of fun with the collars. I went crazy with collars and stuff like that because I wanted to do something weird, and I was in the mood to do something weird, so I thought, why not? Might as well just go all out with it at this point. But since LavenderTowne does those art videos, it makes me think of how I started doing art, and it's funny how everyone starts so different. And some people are so talented, they can start like just like when they're like 13, and then suddenly be so good like when they're like 16, and I'm like, how do you do that? Some people are just so talented, and it makes me feel like, oh my gosh, it took me how long to get any decent at all, and I'm still terrible, and it's like, how could you? But you know, that's just how it is. It's always, some people are always going to be more naturally talented and get there faster, but everyone can do it. Everyone can do it. Even if you're not super like naturally talented, you can still learn over time. It's not like you're suddenly gonna have to be super good. But I started way back. Like I started drawing when I was a really little kid. And that's because mostly parents like give their kids like art supplies as like a distraction so they won't be annoying, I guess. But they give you art supplies. And I remember I loved doodling. I loved coloring books too. I would color in all the Barbie coloring books and all these different coloring books, and I was awful, honestly. I remember going and looking at some of the colorings I did and it was really bad. Like someone's skin was green, and it was really drawing Jessie from Toy Story, and it's not accurate. I don't know what I was doing, but close enough. And I used to love drawing game characters. Did anyone else do this? Where you would just like buy a video game as a kid? Well, you wouldn't, but your parents would buy the video game. And then you would take it home and you'd be like, yay, I have this awesome new video game. I'm so hyped to play it. But then instead of playing the game, you're like, okay, I gotta go draw all of the characters now. Like, what? I had to draw all the characters and stuff. I played the game like a minimal amount compared to how much I drew the characters. It's so confusing. Like I got Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon was my favorite game we got back in the day. I used to not really play the games because I was too little. I used to watch my brother play the games, my oldest brother. Because like I'd watch him play like a Legend of Zelda and all those different games, and I felt like I was playing them because I was always watching it. But with Harvest Moon, I finally got to play my own game in it, and I was like so hyped about that. Same with Animal Crossing. Those were both like my serious childhood awesome games because I got to play them. And most games I didn't really get to play that much, well, except their multiplayer games like Mario Party or Mario Kart. I played those, but you know what I mean. So I was super hyped about that. But instead of actually just playing the game, I would spend hours upon hours drawing the Harvest Moon characters from Wonderful Life. I know the original game you had to be a dude, but then they also made a new game where you could be the girl. And we had to go buy a separate game for that. But yeah, now in the games, you could be a girl or boy in just one game. But they used to separate the games back then. There was always a girl version and then a guy version. And they were completely two different complete games. It was so confusing. Like, I don't know why they did that. Probably because they didn't think of it till after they released the game or something. I don't know why that would be. But I loved that game to bits. And I remember I thought it was so unfair. The girls could go to the store and they could buy outfits, and the guy game couldn't buy outfits. They had to wear the same outfit all the time. I was like, that's why. I wanted to wear outfits. I'm sure my brother wanted to wear different outfits too. I mean, it made no sense. But yeah, when I first got into art, I loved drawing video game characters. Then later in life, I decided to go draw Roblox characters. But that was way later. That was like, I was probably like 13 when I started that or something. Yeah, and I was really bad. I was not good. I did like the Hamiantaro manga. Okay, it's not a manga. I'm not even gonna know. It's like a really lame comic book thing. I don't know what it is. Okay, but I don't know what you label that. But I started doing that even before the Roblox. Yeah, way before. I don't know. Honestly, times just get so mixed up in my head. But yeah, when I went to LavenderTowne's channel again, I was looking at some of her videos, and her videos are really entertaining. I really like watching like her informational videos, or just like tips, just simple tips. Like she just talks about random things. Like one of them was about how characters, you start giving them the same face. And I know that is such a struggle, especially like expressions. I know expressions are one of the biggest things with trying to do, like especially comics, because comics, you want your characters to have lots of emotion, and you'll be able to tell like a lot about them, and lots of crazy emotion helps a ton with that. But like, sure, when you're just drawing separate photos, it's not nearly as bad, but if you're doing like a comic, it's even more so. And I remember doing stuff like that with faces. It's so hard to get used to like trying to make new faces and stuff like that, new expressions, and I thought that video was really cool. But yeah, I mean, little tips like that are always interesting because you never really think of them. Like when you're trying to think of things about art, you don't really think of it unless you like someone points it out. You're like, oh, that's true. I never really think of that. But like, for instance, one of the biggest things about art is proportions and stuff like that, which I still struggle with so bad. But it's so important, and it's important to try and learn, because even any art bases off the actual proportions of real people. So it's important to learn that before you vary your art off into different styles, just so that you know it, because you have to like know the base before you can switch. I know everyone has different art styles, and you're like, there's no rules to art. I know what you mean, but I'm saying like proportions are part of like what you're drawing. If you're drawing a human, proportions are where they come from. That is the actual proportions of a human. Then once you know those proportions, then you can vary your art style off to whatever. And then that, I don't know if that makes sense. I'm really bad at explaining myself, but you know what I mean. There isn't really any rules to art. There aren't any rules to it. You can just do whatever, but what I mean is like if someone's trying to do more realistic, or they're trying to do an anime with proportions that are proper, then yeah, there's sort of rules to how you make it look the way you want it to look. But if you want to do whatever art style, then there isn't rules. There's not the rules telling you can't make your character have noodle arms. You can make noodle arms. That's totally cool. And that it's interesting. I've actually seen artists that do stuff like that and have like no proportions in that sense. And that's honestly really cool. Like a lot of anime also make the characters really lanky. And that's perfectly cool. That's not proper proportions, but it's still really cool. So, I mean, not everything has to be perfect proportions, but if you're aiming for perfect proportions, it's a great thing to try and learn first, because that's the hardest part for sure. Well, for me anyway. It is so hard to learn proportions. There's like so much to learn there, not to mention learning how like to draw a dude and a girl, because they're both so different, and it's hard to figure out exactly how to do that and make sure there's just little tiny things to change to make a girl look like a dude and a guy look like a girl, and it's just so confusing, and I'm really rambling about random stuff. But yeah, and I didn't really start doing digital art until I started doing Roblox characters, because I was on Roblox and that was like a digital program, and I saw other people were doing like art digitally, and I was like, how do you do that? So I started drawing in this program called Picture It. And it was really bad. It's almost like paint. Okay, not as bad as paint. I'm sure it was better than paint. I think. I don't know. It was really bad. I used the line tool to draw everything. I'm not like a good line tool. Not like the type of line tool that you could like curve. It's not like that. No, it was a line tool that was literally just straight lines. So nothing would curve. None of the lines would curve, and there's no way to curve them. And it looked very boxy. But yeah, I kept getting into digital art, and I found Paint-Tool-Sai. And I've been with Paint-Tool-Sai ever since. I did try GIMP. I tried that, and I tried Photoshop. But I didn't like them. For some reason, I don't like those for drawing. Like, I love them for editing and stuff like that, but for drawing, I didn't really enjoy them. I should probably give them a better chance, you know? But for anime and stuff, I don't know why. Paint-Tool-Sai just felt so much easier and so much smoother to work with. You guys will have to let me know what your favorite program is, for drawing anyway. Because like, there's so many programs out there, and I know a lot of people draw on apps now. I did not know that was a thing. So many people draw on like apps and iPads and phones, and I've never done that. That's like a new wave of things that I didn't even know existed. There's probably art programs on everything. And I remember I drew on the DS. There was like what was it called? Oh, there was some art game or something on a DS. And we would upload pictures there. I wish I knew what it was called. I had a profile and everything, and I drew the weirdest things. I want to go find them again. I wonder what I drew. I probably drew some weird stuff. But yeah, sometime I would love to go through my childhood photos, because those are really weird too. But yeah, LavenderTowne's channel is really cool. You guys should really go check it out if you haven't already known it. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know it because a lot of you guys have recommended it, but her channel is so good, and there's so many different informational things to look at and lots of good tips for artists who are starting and even artists who have been there and just don't think of those tips, because so many artists don't think of tips that are like that. But if someone mentions it to you, suddenly you'll think of it. But yeah, let me know if you liked the photo. I had a ton of fun coloring this one. And also let me know other YouTubers you'd like to see me draw. Thank you guys so much for watching.